There are three things you should know before you choose the DJI Mini 2 as your first drone. The Mini 2's been out a little while and is at the top of many a wish list, and understandably so. Finally, there's a drone at a reasonable price point that also packs 4K video and RAW photos, along with good performance and battery life. Plenty of big-name YouTubers have already covered the capabilities of this drone in detail, so I don't intend to go over that ground. But everywhere you look, it seems that the Mini 2 is touted as an ideal beginner drone. And I fell squarely into that target market and bought one. Having now had a couple of dozen flights with it totaling a few hours of flight time, hopefully I'm quite well placed to reflect on the fairness of claims that this is a good beginner drone. So, let's go. Okay, so what are the three clickbaity things I want to warn you about? Thing one, let's talk about the camera. Look, the camera package on the Mini 2 is a significant improvement over its predecessor, with 4K video at 24, 25 and 30p at a respectable 100 megabits per second bitrate, and RAW photos, along with a few other handy features like exposure bracketing for HDR images. But at the end of the day, I'd still say this is an adequate camera package rather than an exceptional one. I mean, look at the size of the thing. Really, what do you expect? To my eye, the image quality is akin to a good camera phone, and in fact the sensor size is very similar to that in the iPhone XS. So in good conditions, it is capable of producing crisp, punchy images, no problem. But if you're filming around dawn or dusk when the light is low, or if you're allowed to fly at night in your country, you're going to struggle to get a good image. This is where the larger 1-inch sensor in the Pro 2 comes into its own. The Mini 2 camera also lacks picture profiles and D-Log capture, so you're really stuck with the default look, which you can then perhaps tweak with a light grade to add your own touch. Okay, thing two is the size. Now, I'm not being funny, the small size of this thing is great. I love it, I've got it in my pocket. You can just chuck it in your bag and take it anywhere. Although by the time you add the remote and maybe your spare batteries, it's a bigger package. And of course, there's also a specific reason behind the small size, which is to come in at under 250 grams, which is an important threshold in many jurisdictions when it comes to licensing, insurance, or registration. However, in this video, we're talking about suitability for beginners, and there's one important drawback to a small drone. Do you know what it is? It can be bloody hard to see once it's a couple of 100 meters away. And here in Australia, at least, unless you have a remote pilot license and an airband radio with qualification to use it, well, you must maintain visual line of sight contact with your drone while you're flying it. I found that on my first few flights, while I was still getting the hang of orienting the drone in the air relative to my own position, it was easy to momentarily lose visual contact with the drone if I needed to glance down at the remote. Now, this does soon improve with experience, but as a beginner, I can imagine there would definitely be an advantage to having a bigger drone, which is a bit easier to spot in the distance. And finally, the third and most important thing I think you should be aware of is that unlike its bigger siblings, the Mini lacks obstacle avoidance sensors. It does have what's called a downward vision system, which helps the drone maintain its position, hover more precisely, and to fly indoors or when GPS is unavailable. But there are no front and back sensors like on the Air 2 or side sensors like on the Pro 2. So when it comes to not smashing into stuff, well, you're on your own. So again, as a beginner, this is a little bit terrifying the first few times you go out with your expensive new gadget, even if you've splashed out for the DJI refresh program for repairs and replacements. Now, I know what you're thinking, why not just throw on a set of prop guards? Well, that's what I thought anyway. But I have to tell you, it's probably better to think of the prop guards as training wheels rather than a silver bullet or ongoing solution to this issue. And that's because there are some significant drawbacks to using the prop guards. I ordered mine straight from DJI and was a little surprised when they came in this enormous box. Thankfully, the box within the box was a little smaller, but nevertheless, once you clip these beasties on, you lose all of that wonderful compactness that's one of the selling points of this drone. It's not going to fit in your bag or your jacket pocket anymore, and these things are a bit of a pain to attach and remove all the time. But wait, there's more. Once we take flight, the drone detects the extra weight and switches into payload mode. I'll explain what that means in a sec, but speaking of extra weight, your drone now weighs over 250 grams. So if you're depending on that sub 250 gram weight limit for legal reasons, well, you're out of business. Now, the extra weight and presumably aerodynamic interference also reduces the performance of your drone, and payload mode is designed to protect you from losing the machine because of that. With the prop guards on, the flight height, distance, speed, and wind resistance are all limited. Around 100 feet or 30 meters for the height, and only 165 feet or 50 meters for the distance. So that's a pretty significant restriction, and you can see why you're not going to want to operate with the prop guards on an ongoing basis. They also don't recommend operating above 2,000 meters or 6,500 feet above sea level, although that's only going to be an issue if you're looking to fly in an elevated or mountainous area. So those are my three things: camera, small size, and lack of obstacle sensors. Now, having said all that, do I regret my purchase? No, I'm having a blast with it, carefully and gradually building up my experience and confidence, and also my skill in manipulating the flight controls and camera tilt smoothly to get footage that I'll be happy with. Is it the right buy for you as a first drone? Well, only you can decide if these things are deal breakers for you. But as they say, forewarned is forearmed, and I think it's helpful for you to know what's what before you hand over your hard-earned cash. So, with all of that in mind, will you still be getting a Mini 2 as your first drone? Why or why not? Let me know in the comments, or if you have any other questions about what this drone is like. And if this video was helpful, please give me a thumbs up and or subscribe to the channel. Now, I'm off to fly my Mini. See you out there.